Greetings, this is Foul and Hard. I want to talk about Star Rail for a little bit. Star Rail was one of my top 5 games last year, and I'm still playing it, but I've got to say, I really do not like Penacony. And I will say right up front, before I get into my complaints about Penacony, there does seem to be like a big divide in the Star Rail fandom, right? The community. Half of them really love Penacony and hate the Lorfu, and then you have people like me who really hate Penacony and love the Lorfu. Penacony just feels like an entirely inconsequential waste of time. The problem with Penacony is it's all set in a dream. So whilst there may be some things that carry over, there may be some psychological impact on some of the characters, ultimately, it's all a dream. It doesn't matter. And this is the kind of problem that people have with like time travel plots and multi-dimension plots and things like that. Unless these are handled really well and with a lot of care, it just kind of comes down to, but it was all a dream! And it's just kind of like, okay, this goes nowhere. On top of that, the whole like 1940s, 1950s steampunk aesthetic doesn't do anything for me. I've seen it in the Outer Worlds. I've seen it in Fallout. It's never really been something that really stuck with me. I'm not really a sci-fi guy. I'm a fantasy guy. And that's probably why I like the Lorfu more than anything. Because the Lorfu feels more fantasy than anything, right? There's more for me to connect with there. Things just seem more interesting and mystical. And then we have Penacony, where everything is just a dream and some kind of conspiracy and so on and so forth. And it's just, it's not for me. We've actually just come off the back of 2 patches within the Lorfu that I really liked. The prior patch, honestly, probably my favorite patch in the game so far. We had these really badass fucking werewolf kind of characters. One of the newest, like, best characters in the game with Fexio, or however you pronounce her name. I grew to really like Mose. I grew to really like the Firefox guy. Some great new characters. I hated the little fucking girl with the big greatsword. Her personality just rubbed me the wrong way. She was just an arrogant prick all the way through. I couldn't stand her. It's funny, actually. She was like what a lot of people assume Yang Qing was going to be like. But Yang Qing is actually quite well developed emotionally as a character. He's still got a bit of learning to do, but he's already way ahead of her little arrogant ass. So, yeah. Incidentally, the whole teaching March thing. March is using 2 dual swords, like 2 swords. She's not using a great sword. She's using a dual sword. So do you know what's more important? Finesse. This girl is trying to teach her to just run in and slam things as hard as possible. Whereas Yanqing is trying to teach her technique and finesse and dexterity. Like, what do you think is more useful for a weapon type that is 2 basically fencing swords or dual swords or whatever kind of swords they are? Finesse and technique. Not just running in there and going bam, bam, bam. I'm sorry, it doesn't work, but she's really annoying. But I loved that patch. Like the werewolf guys, bringing back Mr. Tail and Hua Hua and all that kind of thing. Loved it. Big fan of. I love the Lorfu, right? That's my kind of thing. It just felt far more interesting. Far more was at stake. It's like, shit, people could die. It's not in a dream. This is in reality within the game's world. People can actually die, right? And then we go to Penacony in 2.6. And let me just give you a quick synopsis of what 2.6 is all about. You ready? Ninja, 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 ninja. Banana, 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 banana. Ninja, 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 ninja. Banana, 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 banana. Ninja, ninja, tragic backstory. That's it. That's the entire plot, right? It's a big memetic virus that affects people's heads, that gets them obsessed with something. I get the tacked on social commentary. Fads come in and people lose their minds to fads or memes or something like that, and it just completely takes over. I get it, but it's just as annoying in this game as it is in real life. I'm never someone that really follows fads, right? Occasionally, if I find it interesting, I'll go along with it, but even then, not to the point of it being the fad. And if it is something I'm going to find interesting, it's something I'm still going to be interested in long after the fad is over. I've never been the kind of person to follow fads, even as a kid. I loved Pokemon, for example, but you know what I didn't get? The cards. The cards were a gigantic waste of money for me. That amount of money for just a bit of cardboard? Fuck off. But, yeah, so I never got into that. Like, again, if I'm into something, I'm into something. I don't just drop it because the fad goes away. That, to me, just feels like turning your brain off. Which, quite frankly, would have been a useful skill to have whilst playing this patch. This is the first patch in the game in which I have had to mute the game and just spam click through the whole thing. I have occasionally turned the mute off when there was a big cinematic cutscene or when there was something of interest happening, but pretty much the entire time it's ninja, 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 monkey, 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 banana, banana, banana. That's it, right? Now imagine if the Trailblazer, like the Trailblazer, the main character, has this quirk with being obsessed with trash cans, right? Imagine if that was the entire character. There was no galactic baseballer, there was no silliness, there was no, you know, meta humor, there was no, you know, kind of cocky personality. All it was trash cans, right? That is what this character is like. Ninja, ninja, ninja. Now, it's explained further on, she's also infected with the same mimetic virus, and she was essentially experimented on and tortured, and that's why she is like the way she is. But the problem is, when you're dealing with a character that's essentially an autistic weeb that can only talk about being obsessed with Naruto and nothing else and acting like a ninja 24/7, it does not matter that you give them a tragic backstory. They're fucking annoying. You want to kill yourself listening to them. You want to hang yourself, shoot yourself in the head, tear out your ears so you never have to hear them ever again. When a character is that insufferable, giving them a tragic backstory just makes me hate them more. You mean I've had to deal with all that bullshit, and you justify it by giving her a tragic backstory and trying to make me feel sorry for her? No! All that means is, if I give her the Tingu neck treatment and she dies, I'm not only putting myself out of my own misery, I'm putting her out of her misery. It's a win-win! Horrible, horrible character. Like, mechanically, she's pretty good. She surfs around on a big, like, shuriken, like, big, bright colors everywhere. Like, her talent is actually really cool. As a unit running around the place on, like, a big, like, surfboard shuriken, that's actually pretty neat. But as a character, I want to kill her. Like, she is the single most annoying character in the entire game. And I don't care if they give an explanation. People kept telling me, it's like, oh no, but there's a reason why she's like this. There's a reason why she's like this. I like her a lot more after the ending. I fucking don't. I've still got a little bit more to go, but apparently I'm right at the ending now. But I don't. Like, I'm sorry. Giving her that tragic backstory does not make her more endearing. And Penacony have done this before. Early on in the first patch of Penacony, they gave us Adventurine. And Adventurine is without question one of the best units in the game. I skipped him the first time because of how much I hated him and I was saving for other characters. But he is going to come back soon and I'm rolling on him this time around because as a unit, one of the best units in the fucking game. As a character though, I don't really like him, right? His entire character is essentially, he's a gambler in which he's not really gambling because when he gambles on something, he always wins, right? It's like he's gambling with cheat codes. That's his entire character, right? He's a smarmy prick. He works for the IPC, you know, slavery-owning capitalists, essentially. The IPC are pretty much positioned to be evil, and what Hoyo tends to do with them is they try and humanize them just enough, so they're not, like, cartoonishly evil, but they're still cartoonishly evil. And if you side with the ICP, I've got a bridge to sell you, you know what I mean? The thing that makes him a little bit interesting is he also hates the IPC, and he's essentially trying to take them down from within. Sounds interesting, doesn't it? But the problem is with this guy is when they introduce him, you basically don't see anything about him, and every single time he's on screen, he's screaming Snake. Like, everything about this guy's design and the way he talks and so on, it screams, this guy is a snake that's going to stab you in the back. That's what he sounds like. Typical IPC character, right? And then what I've dubbed the Adventurine Power Hour. In the first time in Star Rail, they remove your control from your character, and they put you in the body of someone else properly. They give you the control of Adventurine, and you essentially go through this dream area whilst Adventurine has a bit of an identity crisis. He breaks down a little bit, and we go through his tragic backstory in which he was a slave. And apparently, this character that we've had no real exposure with and grown to like, we're supposed to feel sorry for him because he has a tragic backstory, right? I'm wondering if the writer of this part of the game is also the writer for Rapper, because it's literally the same thing. It's a character that is not likable in any way. Suddenly we're being hit over the head with, you must feel sorry for him. You must feel sorry for him. He's got a tragic backstory, so you have to like him now. I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me. And I ended up hating the guy. It also turned out that the boss, the Aventurine fight, is like the only time I've ever struggled a little bit in the game. And I had to pull away from it and build up my team a little bit more in order to do it. Never had to, like, try that hard in the game before. So it's the first time it actually made me try. But I just, by the end of that, right? By the end of Adventurine's whole thing, he also ends up in a baby's first philosophy class with Acheron, in which we essentially spend the next 30 fucking minutes having a baby's first philosophical debate between nihilism and absurdism. And it's just like, oh my god, you think you're being deep, but you're not. Like, the whole writing of this scene and Adventurine in general is like, I'm 13 and I've experienced everything the world has to offer. Like Final Fantasy level writing here. I'm 13 and I know everything. I've experienced everything the world has to offer. Here is my deep, tragic writing. I've looked up nihilism once on the internet. Like that's kind of the whole thing. And it's really, really, really bad. It's really bad and it's really cringe. And you know what? Some people eat this the fuck up, just like some people eat Final Fantasy writing the fuck up. I'm assuming they're no younger than, like, maybe 17 at the very least. Sorry, no older than 17 at the very least. I'm assuming most of these people are about 13, 14, 15, 16, something like that. Because if you've got someone about my age that is getting really invested in this kind of thing, I'm like, oi, I'm sorry, but ooh, okay. Something's off there. But it's really bad childish writing. It's really bad writing where, like, if you can tell the author believes that they're being far more deep than they actually are. And then you have this new patch, which is just pure brain rot. It's pure brain rot. And then you get to a moment where it's just, it's one of these things where the concept is executed correctly, because the whole concept is an annoying meme virus. And yeah, it is annoying to the point where I don't want to play the game anymore. You know, and I by the time I got through the Adventuring Power Hour and the Baby's First philosophy class, we got to a point of the story that would have actually made me be like, oh wow, goddamn. Because there's a character called Gallagher, and I pointed out prior how his design is quite mismatched. It looks like he's multiple parts of his design are from multiple different characters and shoved together. His design's really weird. And it turns out there's a reason for that, as is typical for a lot of Hoyo designs. They're very purposeful when it comes to Star Rail, in the very least. You can tell a lot about a character just by looking at them. Their design reveals a lot. It's actually one of the things I enjoy the most about Star Rail, is that when they bring out a new character, I try to piece together the character a little bit based on their design, because they give a lot of cues, especially with the eyes, typically speaking. But what was I getting at there? Completely lost my train of thought. Adventuring Power Hour. Sorry, this is just my brain doing what my brain does. Give me a second. That's it, Gallagher. It turns out that he is like an amalgamation of multiple people. That would have blew my mind initially. Like, oh wow, that's really cool design. But by that point, I was so burned out by that patch that I just wanted it to be over, and I didn't care. I was drained. And a game shouldn't make you feel that way. I was just so drained with how fucking bored and frustrated I was, because I refused to not listen to any of this. I listened to the whole thing in case I missed something that was actually interesting. And this was another patch with Adventuring. Some people fucking loved it. They thought this was the best character, the best bit of writing Hoyo's ever done. And then you had people like me who have played more than just, you know, teenage-aimed JRPGs their entire life, being like, yeah, this is pretty fucking cringe and boring at worst. Like, this is not great. You know, And there does seem to be a major disconnect with the people like me who like the Lorfu and the other people who like Penacony. And I am curious as to what, like, demographics these separate groups are, because I get the feeling that the people that like Penacony are of a much, much younger demographic than the people who like the Lorfu. I'm just putting that out there. I'm just putting that out there. But it's just like, it's weird though, because I love Zenless. Zenless has been great. And one thing about Zenless is the writing is extremely Zoomer. Like, they use blatant Zoomer language. We're talking about no-cap, we're talking about Riz, we're talking about sauce and all this kind of thing. Like, Zenless uses outright Zoomer language, right? And I can understand most of it because I understand Zoomer language. I'm on the internet. If you don't learn it, you're going to be left behind, right? I understand a lot of Zoomer language and slang and whatnot. And it was a bit weird at first, but I got used to it. It's fine. It's never annoyed me. If anything, it's just been laughable. But I think Zenless also has a very different tone to Star Rail. Zenless has a very unserious tone. Zenless is kind of goofy and quirky a lot of the time. And on occasion, it does get serious and has made me emotional at least once. But Zenless is... I just think the tone is more consistent with it. Where Star Rail's tone goes from super serial to super goofy at the drop of a hat, and it doesn't quite work, especially after we've had such a good patch. And the Tournament Arc patch was obviously filler, but I personally enjoyed it because it gave a little bit of characterization to a character that's just kind of been ignored for a few patches. I kind of enjoyed it, but I can see why people wouldn't like the Tournament Arc. And then, but prior to that, we did have, like, a serious, a good fucking, like, patch where, like, there's drama and stakes and people could die and shit like that, right? And then we go back to, then we had the Tournament Arc, which did feel like filler, but filler that was enjoyable. And then we had this that felt like the beach episode, you know? Or the carnival episode, where it's like, Star Rail's had a few filler patches. There was like the Mr. Tail one, the ghost hunting one. That was a filler patch. It's had a few filler patches, but all of these filler patches I've enjoyed. This is the first one I've not enjoyed. And it's just like, Penacony as a whole, to me, largely just feels like a waste of time. Like, I can remember multiple parts of the Lorfu, I can remember multiple parts of Bellabug, but when it comes to Penacony specifically, it's all kind of a blur, and I do find myself automatically dreading going there now because I'm like, okay, I'm going to be talked at for a while, I'm going to be given pseudo-philosophical bullshit for a while, and it's just going to be really fucking dumb and stupid, like the whole banana ninja thing we're getting in this patch. And it's like, the Trailblazer, the main character, has a thing with trash cans. I think I've already mentioned this. They have a thing with trash cans. And the way it's implemented is, it's a bit of a gag. And it was a gag that started on the forums in, like, the first area. And Hoyo, because Hoyo is good at this, they look at their community, they see the community, and they alter the game and they make things designed to appeal to the community, right? They're actually one of the most community-informed development teams I've ever seen. Like, one thing I do like about Hoyo, at least from since I've been playing Hoyo games, Hoyo does look at its fan base. It looks at its fan base and it tries to appeal to it, right? Fair enough. Like, that's actually pretty good. But one of the things that's come from this is when the community makes memes, Hoyo gets in on it. And this has created the whole trash can thing that where the main character is obsessed with trash cans. And the thing is, if you as a player don't want to engage in that joke, you can avoid it most of the time, right? You don't have to engage in a joke. Personally, I find the Galactic Baseballer thing quite funny, so that I engage in that. And occasionally the trash can thing is pretty funny, and also sometimes it's a bit much. And I think at this point in the game, the trash can thing is getting a bit much. It's getting a bit repetitive at this point because it's there a lot. But it's not to the point where the main character's entire personality is trash can, trash can, trash can, trash can, trash can, like it is with these new characters. Ninja, 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 ninja. banana, banana, banana. It's like, it's more, the Trailblazer can be more than just this one thing, but these characters don't get that. And I get it. I understand it's to do with the plot, tragic backstory, mimetic mind virus, all this kind of thing, but it's like, you can make a terrible character and give a reasonable explanation as to why that character is the way they are. That does not stop them from being terrible, right? You see this a lot with modern villains as well. A lot of writers try to make villains sympathetic, and it's usually done in one of the few ways. And it's like, yeah, I get it. These characters are sympathetic. You can understand as to why they got to where they are. But that does not make their actions okay. And it's the same thing with annoying characters. It's like, okay, I can understand why this character is the way she is, but it doesn't stop her from being extremely aggravating to deal with. And quite frankly, we can see this discussion with mental health. You know, there's a lot of people that's like, I'm autistic, right? There's a lot of people that go, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like this because I'm autistic. This is like an autistic thing. And I'm like, okay, but at a certain point, you do have to take responsibility for yourself. I get it. You're autistic, but the more you use being autistic as an excuse for being an annoying piece of shit or an insensitive piece of shit all the time, it's not other people's fault. It's not your autism's fault that people are finding you insufferable. It's your fault. At a certain point, if you recognize you are a certain way or you gravitate towards being a certain way because of being autistic, then it's up to you to try and fix that, right? And, okay, some people, I get it myself. Some people think, okay, well, the way this person thinks doesn't align with me. They're a bit of an outlier. For example, honesty. I'm honest, and sometimes that doesn't go over well. Sometimes I'm also quite an open person. Sometimes that doesn't go over well. But I value these things so much that I don't really care that much what other people think, because I value these things over their opinion of me. That being said, I'm also not going to get to the point with it in which I'm an arrogant ass all the time with it. You know, there's a balancing act to be made where you're still being who you are and not changing who you are to appeal to others, but also you're engaging in a little bit of that social cohesion thing that being humans as part of a society, we all need to do to a certain degree, right? There's a balancing act to be with it where you can still be yourself whilst also catering yourself to your community, right? You don't need to completely change who you are, but also, because that's not going to help you, but also completely being yourself all the time in every situation, regardless of context and environment, that's not going to help anyone either, right? This is very simple, and most people don't have to think about this, they just do it. But again, like, Rapper is just such an annoying character, and I've grown to really dislike Penacony at this point, because I'm just hoping it's not more like this, because quite frankly, if we have another planet like this, I'm probably going to drop Star Rail and just play Zenless, because Zenless I'm enjoying so far. But this last patch, it's kind of funny, because the stuff on the law through I've really enjoyed, and as soon as we've got back to Penacony, I've just been, oh god. It's cringe. It is just cringe. I've heard a few people, again, like, say in the forums, maybe they're just trying to, like, appeal to Zoomers. And I'm like, sure, that's fine. Friggin' Zenless does this as well. But it doesn't suffer for it, I don't think. It doesn't suffer for it. I have got a feeling the Zoomer writing will bug some people. But, again, I don't think the game really suffers for it. And it's done that so consistently since the game started that it's just, like, it's just part of the game. But with Star Rail, the tone can shift so much from patch to patch. It's like you're watching Ghost in the Shell, and then suddenly you're watching Shuka Nuka 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 Gush Tan Tan, you know? Like, imagine watching Ghost in the Shell for one episode, and then the next episode you've got Shiko Tan, or the fucking deer girl, like, walking through a wall, Shika. Like, you're having a philosophical discussion in Ghost in the Shell, then all of a sudden, Shika walks through the fucking door. That's what it's like playing Star Rail at times, where the tone just completely fucking shifts. Just randomly. Like, in general, I'd say Star Rail has a somewhat old BioWare like tone in which serious stuff does happen, but in between it's broken up with a little bit of banter and a little bit of meta humor, right? That's the way it tends to work, but sometimes it just goes completely in one direction, and when it goes into pure memeing and nothing else, it's pretty fucking irritating and insufferable. I don't think the writers can pull that off, personally. It's not my taste. Like, for me, the Family Guy sense of humor in which you just repeat the joke over and over and over and over and over and over again and hoping at one point it becomes funny doesn't fucking work. Again, I, at one point in my life, found Family Guy funny. Then I grew up and became an adult. You know what I mean? Family Guy is just, ugh, at this point. But at one point when I was younger, I did find it very funny. My sense of humor has changed, you know, in that regard. I find this just kind of like dumb humor just not funny anymore. I do like Shikatan. I do like fucking Azumanga Daioh. I like goofy, kind of like deadpan anime. You know, I like that kind of humor. But the thing with those shows is they're incredibly self-aware and they never break from it. You know exactly what you're getting into with one of these, you know, anime. And I enjoy that. But then when you're playing Star Rail, at one point you're playing Azumanga Daioh, and then the next you're playing something a little bit more serious with greater stakes, and it's just like it can swap from one or the other at a dime, and it's just the tone shifts are kind of a bit crazy for the game for me. And I think the more Star Rail purposely tries to go into goofy territory, the more annoying it becomes. A little bit of goofiness every now and again to break tension. A little bit of meta humor every now and again between dialogue for people who are paying attention. Yeah, I like that. That's funny. But just making every character go banana, banana, nana, banana, nana, banana, nana, ninja, 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 banana, 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 ninja, ninja, ninja. It's not funny. It's not funny. It stopped being funny like during the first dialogue sequence in which this was repeated about 50 fucking times. It's not funny. It's not funny. Can we move on? And then, you know, I get to the tragic backstory. Oh, okay, she was abused, she was used, she was experimented on, and she's got this mind virus that makes her think she's a ninja. Cool. Okay. It makes sense. It's not good. It's not well written. But it does make sense. She's still a fucking annoying character, but it makes sense. You know? You know. it makes sense. It's not good though, but it does make sense. But there's my rant. I'm gonna take my doggos out for a walk now, I think, and then come back and upload this. But I'm hoping, like, obviously we've probably got a year of Penacony now, but we're in November now. We've only got 2 months left. Hopefully next year we get to go to a different location and the writing team has been switched up a little bit. I will be given, like, typically speaking with Star Rail, I've been given mostly positive feedback. The only time I ever really gave negative feedback was with that Adventurine Acheron patch, where I'm like, it's a bit much, you know. But even then, that was kind of lukewarm because I did like other elements of that patch. But this patch, I'm gonna rip apart. Like, I really am. I'm outwardly gonna say, please stop giving characters tragic backstories as an excuse for bad characterization and writing. You did it with Adventurine and you're doing it with Rapper now. Please stop doing this, because sure, it works on some people, but for the rest of us, it's just lazy. And it does not make the character any more endearing. In fact, it has the opposite effect, because it feels like we're being emotionally manipulated, or at least that's the goal. Like, no, that's not going to work. You can't just give a character a tragic backstory and instantly that makes them good. It doesn't work that way. It might do to some people, but these people also probably like, you know, freaking kid shows and like melodramatic anime. You know, again, I'm 13 and I've experienced all the world has to offer kind of writing, you know? So yeah, I will be ripping this one apart, I think, come the feedback surveys we get, because fuck me, this is like the worst patch in the game, without question. 2.6, the worst patch we've had in the game. And I don't care about the sim UI either. I tried it, I'm like, okay, I see what they're going for here, but it just takes so fucking long. So I'm probably going to just continuously play one of the older ones, just because I can get it done faster and then move on with my day. The Simu is the kind of thing where it's fun. It is fun, and I do like how they switch it up every now and again. But it's fun once or twice. You know, you don't really want to do it every week. You get into it every now and again. You don't want to do it every week. You do it just because they make you with the whole weekly reward thing, and that's kind of it. But yeah, hopefully I'll finish the patch today, and I can get onto the event stuff, and I can stop thinking about it, and I can wait for good stuff to come out in Zenless, or I can go back to playing Metaphor Refantasio, which has much better writing. You know, and I can, you know, move on from Star Rail until they make it good again. But no, it's this patch is really bad. I'm not just going to stop playing it randomly. When I will stop playing Star Rail is when we have, like, consistent patches that are written like this. If we have consistent patches that are written like this, then I'll stop playing. But every patch can't be gold. You know, there's going to be a stinker every now and again. And so far, this is the second stinker we've had. But this is the one that really smells, because it's the only one that I've outright muted and skipped through the majority of it, because it's really, really bad. I can actually feel my brain liquidizing and falling out of my ears. And I'm someone that listened to the Burnus, go, go music video on repeat about thousands of times. So, you know, I've experienced the brain rot, but I think Zenless just seems to do the brain rot better. I don't know. But but yeah, man. Patch 2.6, not a fan. Penacony in general, I'm not a fan. But like I say, there does seem to be a big split between people who love Penacony and hate the Lorfu, and people like me who love the Lorfu and hate Penacony. You know, like American Horror Story had that thing where there was a weird split between people who loved the odd season numbers and people who loved the even season numbers. I was an even season guy. Seasons 2, 4, 6, they were my kind of seasons. But season 1, and I can't remember them all in general, but I remember specifically 2 I thought was the best. But there was a big split with that as well. So it really is just taste. It is just taste. And it just shows you just how diverse the kind of like tone in Star Rail can be. You know, because it really is, it comes down to that. If the taste is that split, then these different areas have completely different tones, and these tones are not going to fit everyone, you know? If you want pseudo fucking philosophy, like baby spurs philosophy and brain rot, you want Penacony, you know? If you want something that's a little bit, admittedly a bit generic, but generic kind of like fantasy fur, then the Lorfu is your kind of thing. And generic fantasy fur is more of my thing than brain rot and pseudo science, and pseudo, like, you know, baby's first philosophy kind of stuff. I hate that. I've got a really big kind of like for you know, I'm 13 and I've experienced the world kind of like philosophy, right? I hate that. I really do, because it's just so, look how deep I am. Look how deep I am. You're not, though. You're not. You're someone that has only ever experienced a puddle, and you're acting like you've just stepped out of the ocean. That's what that is. It's irritating as shit. But anyway, this won't go over well with some people, but again, very, very split opinion on these areas. So I'm looking forward to wherever the fuck we go next, because I want to move the fuck away from Penacony. I am so done with Penacony. I'd like to see Saval, now that Bellabog, or Bellabong, whatever, now that that is more known by the rest of the galaxy, I would fucking love to see Saval get her moment in the spotlight. You know, Robin had her album. Robin's album was pretty good. But instead of the typical idol fur, perhaps we could have some punk rock, some pop punk, something like that. I'm not expecting full-on metal in a game like this, but, you know, they did okay with the Sons of Clayton. Maybe some Saval punk punk rock kind of stuff. That would be great. That would be great, you know, get Saval some, get an S-rank version of Saval where she's a punk god. Come on, please. But, you know, we'll see. I'm hoping the next area, I'm assuming we're going to get a new area next year. I'm assuming that's what we're going to do. Every year is going to be a new area. That's what I'm assuming they're going to do, which I'll be fine with. So if that's the case, then we're mostly done with Benaconi. Well, we'll go back to it, just like we've gone back to the Lorfu, and for an event, we're going back to Bellabog in this one. We will go back to it, like, fair enough, but I just want to move away where it's not so focused on, 'tis a dream, you know, and we can actually get to something with a little bit more meat, a little bit more grounding to its writing, instead of just random shit and everything being explained away by, but it was just a dream. You know, that would be great. But I'm going to leave it here and finally walk the dogs. I said that a while ago. Bye for now. I really need to get this out of my system because my fucking god rapper is bad. My god 2.6 is abysmal. But it gets better at the end. It gets better at the, yeah, they give her a tragic backstory. That doesn't make it better. That's an explanation. That's not an improvement. That's just an explanation. Bye for now.